What to feed babies? That is such a big question. There are opinions all across the board, people on both sides of every argument. You can find research and opinions to back up whatever stance you take. I am not here to tell you that the way we have done it is the one right way. I don't think there is a one right way. However, I did some research, I looked into some things before deciding how we were going to approach food for our infant. And so I wanted to share that with you in case you are looking for that information for your own family. And I have put a link in the description here for the blog post I wrote that has all of the references for all of the articles and books and everything that I looked into when I was doing the research for our family. And it has links to some of my favorite products that I think will make it easier to feed your baby. So make sure you check that out in the description box below. But I really just wanted to explain a little bit of why my family chose to do a hybrid approach. We heard a lot about baby-led weaning, which essentially is giving your baby the tools they need to feed themselves and encouraging them to really do all of the work themselves. You could put food on the spoon for them, but generally speaking, it's giving them finger food that they can eat instead of giving them a bunch of purees, instead of feeding them like where the parent feeds the child. It's sitting with the baby at the table, eating dinner as a family in a really low pressure situation. And it has a lot of good benefits. It teaches kids how to feed themselves. It helps them pay attention to their own hunger and fullness cues. It helps develop their fine motor skills. They get to taste a wider range of foods and experience the different textures and sizes and everything like that. But it can also be kind of challenging, obviously, to cut things to the appropriate size, to make sure that your baby's not going to choke on anything, but to also make sure that they can pick it up before they develop that little pincher grasp, because that's not present right away. And it can be really frustrating for a child if they can't pick up their food. Plus, purees are just kind of a traditional approach. Most people grew up kind of thinking that purees were a normal step in feeding children, and they certainly can be, but we didn't want to do jarred baby food from the store, just because homemade purees are a lot fresher and they're cheaper, especially if we want to use organic produce, which I'm trying to do with our little one. So it's easier to buy the food, cook it, which usually means roasting or steaming, and then puree it with some express breast milk or water so that we can have a puree kind of consistency. And the nice thing with homemade ones is that you can really control the consistency. So you could start out with thinner ones and progress toward thicker ones, which is helpful to kind of make it a little more personalized, I guess, for your child's food journey. So those are just kind of some of our thoughts on purees versus baby-led weaning. We saw pros and cons to both approaches. We wanted to see what would work best for our daughter, and we wanted to skip the infant cereals altogether. They're bland, they're highly processed, so they're going to cause a spike in blood sugar. They don't teach children to eat things that have a lot of texture and flavor variety, and we didn't want our daughter craving things that were really bland. We wanted her to eat fruits and vegetables and things that have a lot more taste, a lot more nutrients, and so we just decided to skip infant cereals altogether. Of course, all of these things are personal choices for you and your family, but I did want to provide some of the information for why we chose what we chose. And again, that's all in the blog post linked below. So we have been giving our daughter food for about a month. She's still learning on how to swallow things, but she's getting more and more things in her mouth. So we'll call that a win for now. And it's been interesting to see what she likes. She liked her avocado puree, kind of okay. She liked pears a little bit. She wasn't so sure about mango because it was really slippery. We just cut that into pieces. It wasn't pureed. And she wasn't too interested in broccoli or pea puree. She didn't really know how to feel about grated carrot, banana, I think she was kind of interested in, but it was hard for her to get it off the spoon. So some things have gone better than others. We'll revisit a lot of them, but it has been kind of a fun adventure, and I like the benefit of just exploring what she likes and trying out different textures and approaches. She's been able to get a lot of green beans and zucchini pieces into her mouth with more success than she was a spoon and some puree. So now that she's getting that hand-eye coordination down, I feel like we can expand that and try some other foods out for her. But I did want to show a lot of the tools and things that we have been using in case any of you are looking for things to make feeding your little one easier. So the beginning of the process, whether you're doing baby-led weaning with whole pieces of food or you're doing homemade purees, obviously some of these skips you can step if you do store-bought. I like to steam a lot of the food because it gives it a nice soft texture, and it makes it easier to puree or eat, just for the baby to eat with baby-led weaning. I don't have my steamer basket handy right now, but I did link it in the blog post. It's a super easy method for steaming. You also can roast things in the oven. They taste delicious. It just takes a little bit longer. And some foods are kind of better suited for roasting versus steaming. But try it out, see what you think. And then I just stick it in a blender. We have a Ninja system that I've had for years that's still going strong. You could use any kind of powerful blender to blend it up with some liquid. Just start with a little bit and add more to thin it out as necessary. And then I like to freeze it. I just bought a 3-pack of these. They're just called like large ice cube trays, and they have lids. And so I put the food in there, I freeze it, and then once it's frozen in cubes, I like to put them in just little reusable storage baggies in the freezer. Or if I'm not going to freeze it, and I don't usually freeze all of it because I typically want a little bit of food more readily available in the fridge, then I will put portions in little glass food storage containers. These ones are really nice because it comes with a marker that you can use on the lid that cleans off. So you can label things, you know, in case your peas and your broccoli look a lot alike, or your carrots and your sweet potato look a lot alike, because they do. So that's kind of prepping those foods. You can bulk prep a lot of things ahead of time, which is really nice, but babies typically don't eat a whole lot at the beginning. So I did some of that and then realized I was getting ahead of myself. One day I will do a video about bulk prepping a bunch of baby food, but in the meantime, I'm just doing a little bit at a time because that's all we really need. And then one thing that I thought was really handy, especially for things like mango, it was a huge win. I'm gonna try it this week with strawberry too, is this little, it looks like an old school pacifier. I have the box in here to see what it's called. They're called fruit feeders. And the one order came with different sizes, but it's so nice to be able to put food in this. It opens so that you can put food in the little tip here and give it to your baby, and then it's got a little dial on it so you can push the food up through these holes that are in the end of it here. It does have a cap, and we just loved it for mango. That's all we've tried it with so far, but I wish we would have tried it with other things because squishy, slimy foods are really hard for babies to pick up, but we wanted her to be able to eat it, and we were on the go, so I couldn't puree it. And it was so helpful to have this because she could hold on to this and she could feed herself with it. So I loved that. For pretty much everything else, we've used a single set of dishes and utensils that we got. There's a cute little owl plate, there's a cup, there's a bowl, which is sticking to my counter right now with the suction cups, and then some utensils. And these are super nice because, like I said, they have suction cups, so they'll stick to the counter, the table, the high chair tray. I do recommend getting them a little bit wet with some surfaces. It doesn't stick very well when it's dry, so just pro tip there. And then the cup has been really handy. Our daughter keeps trying to drink out of my water bottle because I carry it around all the time. So if your child is like that, or if you just want to start them with water, because it is recommended that you offer them some water when you start offering solid foods, this is really helpful. It's super easy to clean, easy to put together, got nice size handles. Our daughter really likes it. So those have been really helpful for feeding our daughter. It sounds like a lot. It's really pretty simple. You just cook a version of what you're cooking for yourselves. Maybe keep track of the different foods that you're feeding your child and whether they have any reaction, whether that's an allergic reaction or just a funny face. I think it's kind of fun to keep track of both. And then you can look back one day and see all of the fun experiences and adventures you got to have while starting your little one on solids. But that's all I have today. Don't forget to take a look at that blog post to see all of the information, all of the research for why we did a combination of baby-led weaning and purees, why we skipped the infant cereals and the jarred baby food from the store, and then all of those research references and our products that we just find so helpful. All right, I hope that's helpful for you guys. Leave any comments down below. I'll be sure to check them. Have a good day.